Yo, what's up guys, Seiishizo over here, and let's talk about the tier list on the Tekken 8 units. We do all know that they're quite disappointing, but at least most of them. Some might be actually a little bit better than you expect, so we're going to talk about those. We're going to talk about what are the things that I would recommend to see being buffed, where they could be used, and all of that kind of good stuff. So we have the tiers, but I also right away mentioned in the tier what it is itself, rather than just saying like, oh, this is as a whatever. We also right away just say it's like, okay, can be used in current state or works fine current state, or can be used niche, needs a buff, or can be used, or like, yeah, can see being used but a little bit more of a niche, and then needs a buff but there is potential, and then there's no potential at all. Those are pretty much the things we're looking at. We're going to be looking at, for some of the RTA units, at RTA win rates as well. We're going to be looking at the skill sets that we have over here and what they can do, and then we just go from there. So without too much yapping, let's get into it. First off, we have the Nina Williams on water, which is the one with dots. It does actually bring a fair bit of dots. The leader skill is kind of bad. It's just 35 on resistance. That doesn't really help anything at all. I would say that the amount of dots that she provides is not bad. The 100% attack bar at below 50% HP is a little bit niche, but it's not bad. The main issue that I have with her is that her skill 1 is a single hit, whereas the S3 is a multi-hit of 3. So I would say she can be used, but what I would like to see is her cooldown on this. So it's 3 turn with the -1. I would like to see this being a 2 turn, because every turn you use a skill 1, you also have less dots in there. But the skill 3 actually provides a fair bit of dots. If this gets to a 3 turn cooldown, so therefore a 2 turn cooldown with the skill cooldown decrease, I think she is very strong as well. So I think, well, actually, I do want to check if she is used in RTA, because I think that she might be a niche-ish unit that might be used for RTA. I would more look her towards like Siege and kind of things rather than RTA itself. But it is an option out there where I could see people maybe being using this. Yeah, not to great extent as of yet. Like, it's kind of there, but also very low on the amount of picks. So I would say can be used, but is very niche. Like, can you use it in current state? Yeah, more in Siege than in RTA for sure. But can it be used in Siege? Yeah, next to like a Sahat, like the Wind Bayek or something, can be used, but it's pretty niche. Let's move on to the next. So let's remove this. This one is a 4-star. So it's the 4-star with 4 turn hit, and then the max HP, increased cool time, that kind of stuff. It is just a 4-star, so most of the time the 4-stars aren't really meant to be any good. So currently, I would say something along these lines. I also would say it's like on the 4-stars, you could go for a buff, but to be honest, I don't really get the feeling of this. Like, destroy max HP, increase cool time. Would you actually put this to its like 4-star Siege? I wouldn't say so. Like, there's way better options out there for locking things down than anything like this. Sure, destroys a little bit of HP, but yeah, maybe this. I see the potential. I see the potential for destroying HP in Siege. So the kind of potential is there. Then we go for the Wind one. Wind one is the multiplier on higher damage, but it's a 4-star. So if this was a 5-star and this was actually proper multiplier on like extra hits, also an 8 multiplier is not really that crazy at all. So it's kind of a PvE unit. Base attack is 635. It's also not that crazy. At least it's an attack type. But yeah, I would say straight up for her, I see no potential in there. That's just way better. Like, just use a crow. Just use a Brandia. Just use anything like that. Like, a crow already does way better than this in the first place. So I see no potential for the Nina Williams on Wind. Moving on next, we have the Nina Williams on Light, which is the multi-hitter with the Cleanse Block and the Seal. I am personally not a big fan, but I am curious to see if people actually started using her in RTA, because she looks more of an RTA-ish unit. She has multi-hits, which additional damage artifacts work a little bit on. Is it therefore really great? No, I actually don't really think so. So there we have her. Win rates 45, not surprised. 49, not that many picks. And 50, also not that many picks. So I would say I kind of see her potential, but the big issue is like this 10% hit is not that much. I can only see her being used in a Layla Tomoe kind of comp. And then to be honest, I would still say that a Beth or something probably does do better. Sure, it doesn't have like the elemental thing, but yeah, in all honesty, I would see like a Beth or anything just simply do better than that. So I kind of see the, yeah, I would say needs a buff, but I can see it being used. Like it's kind of there, but I can see it being used, but it's not that crazy altogether. So that's kind of for me on that one right there. Um, then we have the Nina Williams on Dark. And that one is the special one with the grand target. Also for her, if the cooldown is shorter on the S2, which I definitely do think they will do at some point, is definitely one of those that I would highly recommend to see and would make it a lot better. The only awkward thing on this is that if something else hits the target, she doesn't gain attack bar. Only if she hits the target, she gains attack bar. So if those two buffs add in there, I could see her being a lot better. But let's actually see if she's currently used in RTA, because I definitely would say Siege unit or RTA unit, but in neither state's really that great at all. But I can kind of see the potential that the moment that if something else hits the target, that it would be she getting attack bar. If the cooldown on the S2 was one lower and therefore she provides more defense break, she would have more potential. But I would say she's weaker in current state than the light one, in my opinion. But I see the potential. I definitely see the potential. To be honest, I don't see the potential in you. Like, to be fair, I don't. So yeah, definitely needs a buff, but I see the potential for a buff making her pretty decent if you add in the S2, if you add in the skill 3 that it works on all. So yeah, that is all for all of the Ninas. Moving on next to the Hwoarangs. Let's see, where do I have my first Hwoarang? Hwoarang over here. So we have the Hwoarang on, the high damage skill on the skill 3. And that is it a steal? No, it's also increase your attack bar to the attack bar you decrease. Yeah, technically steal. But it's just put it to 0 and then steals the rest of it. Okay, is it really that crazy? It does give you a speed buff and that kind of stuff. I would say for Siege, maybe-ish, but then again, multiplier on 8% is not crazy. Or like 8 times. It's not crazy. Skill 2 is not crazy. Skill 1 is not crazy. It's also the weird mix in where I would like to normally go additional damage artifacts for the 1 and the 2. But for the 3, you don't want to have any additional damage artifacts. Plus, like the single target hit it provides, it is not that crazy. How would you buff this? To be honest, I'm not really sure. Like, would you give this straight up like a speed lead or speed scaling on the S3? If you give speed scaling on the S3 or the S2 altogether, then it would definitely be really strong. But as of currently, I don't really see the value in it too much. Let's see if anyone actually used this over here. I kind of doubt it. But yeah, okay, like pretty much no use, and 0 use. Yep, that's pretty much also what I felt like. I would see... Currently, I would almost say I see no potential, that like needs above no current potential. I kind of see the potential in there, but you definitely have to upgrade something to the skill 3. Make anything like speed scaling or anything like that, like this damage speed scaling or more of a hit or increase cool times or do anything like that while adding like the 0 attack bar. Maybe strip an attack bar to 0, something like that. But I kind of can see the potential in him. But yeah, not really in current state at all. Moving on to the next, we have the Fire one. That's the one, at least the branding. Definitely more of a PvE unit, but this PvE damage is like fairly weak. Like, it's also, animations are too long for a fast PvE run, therefore I don't really like it. Yeah, and it's just a 4-star in there. So once again, I would say I can kind of see the potential where you can do a fair bit of damage, but definitely would need a bit of an upgrade to be a PvE unit, which you actually do want to use rather than, like, there's so many good fire units already out there with, like, Brandias and that kind of stuff. Ken is out there, which is great for branding. He might be a similar kind of unit because he brands in the skill 3, which is the pass, so he always has a chance to brand, which is kind of interesting, but his animations are too long and he does too little damage. So if he actually gets proper damage in there, I could kind of see the potential for him, mainly on the side of PvE. Moving on to the next, which is going to be the Wind one. Wind one was the one where it's like, yo, this looks so good, like 6 hits, AoE kind of shenanigans, 0.8 on the multiplier over here. Just for a reference, a Juno skill 1 or any Oracle skill 1 is 1.3. A Juno skill 1 is pretty much as good as the multiplier on this, but then a 3-time hit. So Juno multiplier is stronger than the multiplier on their skill 1s. That's just a simple fact. So yeah, sure, they have this part in there, and the other ones have like attack per gain, but yeah, something like that. Let's just see if this thing is actually used, because this is more of an RTA unit, maybe arena offense unit. I tried it in arena offense. I right away was like, yo, I ain't using this because it does absolutely jack of all. Like, it does absolutely no damage. Let's see how you do over here. Yeah, you have horrible win rate in all of them. So I would say, do we even see the potential? I see the potential if they just add more damage. Like, that's the main thing. If they just add more damage to this, I see the potential where he becomes a nuker. He does have like the effect where attack bar increase does not work, so it's countering Morse, it's countering Abelios, it's countering Verts, it's countering so many things actually. That I can see is like, yo, I can actually see the value in this. Base stats are a little bit on the low side of the attack for like a full-on nuker. It's like on the same level as Alicia, which is already a little bit on the lower side. That recently got like a 12.5% buff in the skill 3 because the attack was that low. So for that reason, it's a little bit on the low side. I see the potential if they just add more damage, but definitely pretty D tier at the moment. What is it? Yeah, D tier. Needs a buff, but I see the potential. I see where you want to go with this unit and actually make it properly good. So let's move on to the next. Next is the Light Hwoarang, the unit that I wanted to pull even without looking at the unit. But arguably, this one is really good. And let me showcase you why this one is actually that good. So I did find it earlier on RTA. And a lot of people have been asking me, like, how do you build this? You build this on a lot of, like the runes you go for speed, HP, HP, or speed, attack, HP, but in most cases, I would just go speed, HP, HP. And then you really want to aim for as much additional damage artifacts by both speed, mainly, and HP secondary. If you go for those two things, and I cannot find the unit for the life of me, probably scrolling past it like 6 times already, but then you actually put a lot of damage out on that unit. Plus, he's very hard to kill, because a lot of people said, like, oh, he's very similar to a light Siren. Yes and no, and probably I've been scrolling past this thing for like 6 times already. Holy hell. Let me pause for a sec to find it. Right over there. Definitely missed it a few times. But if you go for the additional damage with speed and HP, you do give a lot of damage with this thing. He takes a lot of cycling and a lot of turns. And actually the win rate, like, he's not used much. So this 56 doesn't mean that much just yet. But that already shows in every rank he's actually rocking in a high fair win rate. So I would say great in current state of use. You need crazy good artifacts and runes on it. I'm kind of doubting between the two of them. Maybe I'm overhyping it because I have good artifacts and I would definitely try to make him shine. The best part about him is that he's fairly hard to kill. So the moment you get attacked, like every time I have to fight this thing for the rival X, my Gronger uses S3 and this thing is 4 HP because I missed the crit. Like, that kind of stuff is pretty damn nasty. So you always have elemental advantage. I think that he can get maybe a slight bit of an edge of, like, if he gets the Sonya passive where he gets A to B one glance, that would be super OP. I would say I put him in the works fine right now. I think because he's not being, like, overly spammed. The people that are using him are kind of getting good success with him, but I definitely do think that his win rate would drop the moment he will be used a lot more. But no, actually, to be honest, I would say great use in current state. To be honest, I think that's the only one, most likely, that's actually great use in current state. I'd still think maybe might be very biased by me actually saying, like, yo, I have good artifacts, but if you have crazy good artifacts by speed and by HP, you're gonna be doing a fair bit of damage on this thing. Plus, he's so much easier to stack than a Siri, because Siri needs to take 5 turns to actually stack. This one already gets, like, straight up in this skill, 4 stacks on this. You get 80% speed on this. Plus, the big difference between this one and the Siri is you get 200% speed, whereas the Siri gets 250 extra speed. So if you already have a very high speed on the unit itself, you get 200% on top of that. Whether with the Siri, like, if you start very low base speed, you still get the 250, which makes it a little bit awkward. Do you go high base speed by yourself or low base speed by yourself? This one is just straight up like, yo, add me a lot of speed and you're good to go. With this thing, no, I think this is the only one that doesn't need a buff, most likely. Like, this one I could see straight being used in current state, and yeah, I do think it's fair to put him in the great use in current state. Maybe the moment people figure him out a little bit more, he's going to be a bit weaker. Yeah, you definitely need, like, super good rune quality to actually make him work. But then again, you can actually see in G1, still high success. Punisher, still high success. In Conqueror, still high success. So in the end, the high success for this unit is out there, and therefore I'm going to place him at the S rank. I could argue to say that there's stuff like triple S's out there and stuff, but none of these units are actually going to meet that. So these top of the line of comparison between all of the units, compare him to like other SWC kind of units like Shiho and that kind of stuff, he definitely rates lower. Like that's definitely a fair bit on there. Moving on to the next, we go for the Dark Hwoarang. Dark Hwoarang is the multi-hit that goes for like at some point 9 multi-hitters and that kind of stuff. It is a 4-star. I definitely could see him being pretty decent, but I think he lacks damage. Like the main thing where the light one can add a lot of damage is because he gets a lot of speed, and then his speed additional damage artifact scaling is a lot more. This one is a 4-star, so therefore has worse scaling on the attack, the HP, and also doesn't have the speed added in there for extra scaling. So his damage mostly is very, very weak. So I would say that he definitely needs a bit of a damage upgrade. I don't think he will be ever used in RTA. I could say it's like, can be used, but niche. Like, no, I would say needs a buff, but can be used. I think there. I think it's more fair over there. Because he just... yeah, he just doesn't do any damage. Like, sure, he has a lot of multi-hits and that kind of stuff, but his damage output is just horrendously low. Like, it's just... once again, this skill is just lower damage output than a skill 1 of a Juno. That's just... all skills are lower damage output than a skill 1 of a Juno. So... that's just horrendously low, so therefore we're going to put it in the C tier. Moving on to the next. Jin Kazama is a 4-star. That's the one with the 23.5% HP. Again, whatever thingy it is. To be honest, I see no use for that, but it's also a 4-star. So fair is fair as a 4-star, so we don't really care as much. Moving on to the next, the Fire Jin. Fire Jin is actually an interesting one. I want to see how it works in RTA. People have been using this against the Gianna, so he doesn't get stunned by the Gianna. He takes a turn and he can maybe strip and despair stun something himself. But the big issue is he's a 70% strip, which is a little bit bad. The cooldown is going to a 3-turn, so you cannot do the Josephine thing where you proc out, you immediately get the passive back up again, which is really the strong part. So there's definitely a bunch of flaws to it. If you would lower the cooldown, if you up the rate of strips, I could see his potential, but then again, he's still kind of feeling, in my opinion, like a week more. And let's see what we do for the win rate. So this one is definitely more of an RTA unit, but he's doing a fair bit of weak-sided RTA right there. So I would say can be used, but is niche. Like definitely, no, actually, to be honest, I would say can be used, but I would still say he needs a buff. I would say that the Nina Williams water, you can use, it is still niche. You can use it without it being buffed. But the Jin, I would recommend, like, since this is a siege unit, siege you can get away with a little bit more things as long as you have the right team around it. Jin, since it's an RTA unit, it's a little bit less forgiven for actually being used. And for the Hwoarang, why he's here, he's more of a siege unit. So for that reason, like, these are 2 RTA units. Siege units is always a little bit more forgiven in the current state of where you can use them. But RTA, you actually need, like, a whole good rounded comp. You need your victory in there, and that's just a lot harder. So I would say that the Jin gets a C tier for me, which maybe people did expect higher, but to be honest, he's kind of like a weaker more without a speed lead, right? So that's... if you give him the arena speed lead, then we're kind of talking. The Jins have the potential for getting arena speed lead. I think none of them have it yet, right? No, none of them have arena speed lead. We only have a guild speed lead and we have a global speed lead. So guild speed lead is on the Paul. Overall speed lead is on the Nina, which 21 is kind of bad. But if this one gets the speed lead, it would be a 28% speed lead. So I could see the Jin getting a lot of potential for lowering cooldown, upping the rate, getting a speed lead, and then we're talking about a good unit. But until that time, he's C tier for me. Moving on to the next, we have this one, which is the Oblivion 5 hits. I don't see any use of this at all. Like... yeah, the potential's kind of there. Also, once again, could be once again the speed lead. 5-hit of Oblivion. I don't really see that much of value on that. Like attack break. Like if we're talking like defense break or anything like that, then maybe also the multiplier 5 times 1.6 is not crazy high. So I don't really see the value on that just yet, and I don't think it will be used in any RTA kind of shape or form. Moving on to the next, which is the Lights Jin. And Light Jin is actually a little bit more interesting. He has pretty low attack, but he's also support type. But he has a lot of absorbs. Like every hit he does is a lot of absorbs. And with this, it's even more absorbs. With this one, more absorbs and more dots and those kind of things. I think he's actually low-key pretty decent. So let's see how this 4-star does do in RTA. I would say maybe as a siege unit, maybe as an RTA unit. But let's see what we have. So, okay, pretty low success over here. 50, but not that many picks. And 50, but not that many picks. So I could definitely see the light Jin actually being used, but he's very niche. If he had 5-star base stats, which would make him a lot harder to get in the first place, I would have said that he would have been decent because of just higher multipliers, therefore additional damage multipliers, because he's definitely an additional damage multiplier kind of unit. Then it would be very nice, but only if he was 5-star. But since he's 4-star, it's kind of more rough to put in. Also, he doesn't really provide anything else outside of slows and decreasing attack bar and gaining attack bar himself. If he had like a random armor break in any of his kit, it would definitely be quite a bit better. But I can see him being used. But it's still niche. It's nothing that crazy. But I can see him being used. Let's check out the Dark one. The Dark one is pretty much the Dark Itadori on his weakest state, and then maybe a little bit weaker even than that. So that's just that they managed once again to bring out another Dark Itadori. And Dark Itadori, in the end, in current state, is really good. But it took him a fair bit of time for the Dark Jin to actually get there, because multipliers aren't really there, you're just not dealing enough damage. And of course, I can't find a freaking unit again. There you have it. So let's see. Yeah, 0% win rate, 41% win rate. Yeah, people don't want to be using this. So it has the damage output of a wet noodle, 8%, which is definitely not that much. Increased damage over the next time. You don't get an attack buff, you don't armor break, you don't do this, you don't do that. It's just all a whole bunch of nothing. You get the endure, reduce cooldown. You're just not killing anything. Base attack is actually kind of fine. Yeah, this thing absolutely does need a buff. And to be honest, I see the potential, but needs a buff. But he's definitely on this kind of level. I don't see him being used at all at the moment. Like, he's just not killing anything. If you up anything to his damage output on the S3, you give him attack buff, that kind of stuff, he becomes a Dark Itadori, which is kind of the weird thing. But that's the only way that I can actually see him being good. Give him the Dark Itadori skill 3 and he is good. But that's the only way that I can see him being good. You could argue for him, give him the speed lead. That could be a thing. Like, arena speed lead could be a thing on him. But yeah, current state of the game, it's really darn bad. So let's remove that and we're gonna put you on D tier. Heihachi Mishima is made for Steel Fortress PvE and that only. I tried it in a previous video. Multiplier on this is pretty bad. The 15% is pretty bad. The endure, you don't need, give it an attack buff. This part is really nice. 703 is incredibly low, but it's an HP type, so therefore doesn't make sense. And you might say it's like, oh, there's max HP in there. No, it's their max HP. Like, also don't really need that. If the skill 3 has their max HP scaling, definitely have potential in there. And so then you can add a lot of crit damage and you would just work on the crit damage rather than on the attack. But that part is not really in there, so definitely needs a buff, but I see the potential. If we go for a max HP scaling on the skill 3 as well, then you can just kind of ignore this attack and just go for a lot of crit damage. Like if you add like 290, 300 crit damage, you will do damage anyway, same as that you have, for example, on the Lin. You don't really need to give like an insane amount of attack, just more crit damage adds a lot of value. And then I could see it being used, even though that the Steel Fortress is not a super high HP boss. But there is some value to it then right there. But right now it's just like needs a buff, but I see the potential. Like he's kind of on point that the kit makes sense if you just up the numbers. Moving on to the next, we have the Paul Phoenix on water. More of a siege unit, also has like guild content leader siege thingies. We have like the glancing hit. I think he's pretty decent into a full fire team that you get a threat state every time they hit you. Because of that, they have that glancing plus the glancing of your wrong element. And then you just add in that and you can recover by each harmful effect granted on the enemy. So you get like a fair bit of that. I can see him still being a little bit better. Like his damage output is horrendously bad because we have HP type once again without any HP scaling on anything whatsoever. So that is definitely his big issue. If he gets HP scaling on the 1 and the 2, it would be a lot better. But I could see, I would say needs a buff, but I can see him being used. Like into the right team in Siege, I can see him being used. Moving on to the next Paul Fire, which is the Paul that has the Molong kind of hit on the skill 3. Multiplier of 0.2 is pretty low. It does give you attack bar, but he doesn't really have any kind of speed to write home about. Does have a fair bit of HP right there, but then again, I think Molong probably has higher. So yeah, and then the S1 and the S2 is also not really that crazy. So he at least has some HP scaling on his HP type. That is something I would say can be used, but it's very niche. Might as well use a Molong. Yeah, kind of like that. The only good thing about this, to snipe something out with this skill into the following skill, you get the attack bar, which helps you out a little bit. Big issue is an Arnold pretty much does better. I'm gonna one down him. Like an Arnold straight up does more damage than this thing. So for that reason, like no. Sure, he gets the attack bar gain. Yeah, no. Nah. So yeah, that's for that. Also, siege unit out there. We have the Paul Phoenix. Also, that Paul was on a defense lead. If that actually does get an HP lead, because he's the only HP type scaling unit of this whole family, would make a lot more sense. Then we have the Paul, which actually gains immunity attack bar, okay, and we increase attack bar of allies whenever an ally uses skill cooldown increases. This is only a counter against Oliver. I thought that if they use a skill and therefore their skill cooldown increases, you can do something. So an Adriana skill 3 would boost the whole team for 15 A to B. Not the case. He's just straight up a counter to Oliver. To be honest, he's one of those, I just don't even see the potential. Like, to be honest, if you just a counter to Oliver and your wind element and this skill's not doing shit, that skill's barely doing shit, I don't know. Okay, I can maybe see the potential, but you're literally just countering Oliver. That's about it. Cooldown increases, then you do something. But there's not that many cooldown increases. Like, maybe against an Okeanos, but then you would have to be anti-stun as well. Because, yeah, I can kind of see the potential where it's maybe countering Okeanos in the wrong element-ish setup, something like that. But yeah, no, not really. This definitely has to be a fair bit more. I don't really see the value on that. So let's remove that one as well. We got the Wind Paw, or not the Wind Paw, the Light Paw, which has 28 speed lead in guild content, which already makes him valuable over there. We do have Branding plus Oblivion plus remove beneficial effect on the skill 3. So I haven't really seen any guild actually use it just yet. I think he is okay. Does have like proportion to your max HP, proportion to your max HP. I would say his skill 1 also needs proportion to your max HP to actually make him good. Branding can make an AI target on a certain unit, and since he's a light, I would say I'm not gonna put him great in current state because I haven't seen any team actually use him yet. But I think he works fine. I think that he's one of the better pickups. He might be over here if people actually do figure out better teams, but I'm kind of missing the armor break. If this was a strip armor break of Oblivion, I would have straight up put him over there. But since it's a branding is not as great as the other one. So that's definitely a thing out there. Also, his damage output is pretty much on the low side. I could see this being paired with like a Keyclit and those kind of things, but in current 4-star meta, I would say I put it on the works fine. If I see better teams in the future, he would definitely go up. But for now, I haven't really seen any teams as of yet, and I don't have him myself. So I would say, like, I have tested him a little bit, but I couldn't really see like super crazy combos just yet. So therefore, I'm gonna put him in the works fine. Doesn't need a buff, but well, the skill 1 could still be a proper scaling thing. That actually does make sense. But yeah, I would say A tier for him is fair. Then we have the Dark one, which actually has the crit rate, 28. That's a fair bit of crit. But yeah, we have no HP scaling, no HP scaling, no HP scaling, and a weird-ass counter with attack all enemies to provoke them for 1 turn and kind of shenanigans. Plus, he's a 4-star. I don't even see the potential in this dude. So that's all for me for all of these collab units. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Most of the time, I do want to give that. This is still fairly early. I didn't want to make this on the first or second day because I did that with the previous collabs, and then I checked later and was like, yo, this tier list is actually kind of ass. Might be that in a month from now, I would still say that this tier list is kind of ass, but in the current state of the game where I feel like how units are used, I tried pretty much all of them, at least in a little bit of content. Thank you for the guild research thingy out there that can actually check out all of them. But I would say that Light Hwoarang seems a lot of potential. Light Paul has a fair bit of potential. I can see the Nina Williams and this Jin on a fair bit of potential. Tomorrow on the video, I'm going to be using the Light Jin because that is the one I do have. Currently, I only have Light Jin. I have the Paul and I have this Paul. So Weather Paul and Dark Paul and Light Jin. Kind of unfortunate for the amount of scrolls I did. I did about like 3,000 plus scrolls with also I don't know how many legendary scrolls and whatnot. And like 12 Tekken scrolls. Odds, not really that great. But then again, most of them aren't really great at the moment. I still have my Transcendence scroll where you can just get 10 units and pick one. So if any of them gets buffed at a moment, I can still pick up which one gets buffed. But as mentioned, I still want to channel my inner Jean-B to get the Light Hwoarang because I actually do think he's really insane. And if I pull a Light Hwoarang, that would be for me a thing that's like, yo, I actually want to start playing RTA again. For now, I do have a team in mind that I might want to play RTA a little bit later down the season, which is just like full dark kind of LD5 kind of shenanigans. But we'll see about that. Guys, thanks a lot for watching for this one. If you agree or disagree with this list, let me know in the comments down below. If you want to talk about any of the buffs, also let me know in the comments down below. And see you as always in the next one.
Thanks for watching. If you would like to see more guides, join the Discord and check out the content tab for the guide video archive, which contains all of the guides that you might need. Hope to see you there.